Hello guys and welcome to
Kaliko TV.
Ang topic natin for today is about resistors in parallel. So resistors are said to be connected together in parallel when both of their terminals are respectively connected to each terminal of the other resistor or resistors. Unlike the previous series resistors circuit, in a parallel resistor network, the circuit current can take more than one path as there are multiple paths for the current. So this is an example of a parallel connection of resistor. So para makabuo tayo ng isang parallel circuit using a resistor, kailangan natin i-connect siya ng ganito. So yung isang paa ng resistor ay connected sa isang paa ng pangalawang resistor. Then yung the other terminal of the resistor is connected to the other terminal of the second resistor. So gagawa lang tayo ng ganyan. Ito yung pangalawang network natin para sa R3 and followed by R4 and kung ilan pang resistor ang i-connect natin the same way. Okay. So these are the key points. The total resistance in a parallel circuit is less than the smallest of the individual resistances. Then each resistor in parallel has the same voltage of the source applied to it, or the voltage is constant in a parallel circuit. And parallel resistors do not each get the total current, they divide it. So current is dependent on the value of each resistor and the number of total resistors in a circuit. So, ito yung mga terms na kailangan nating maintindihan. One is resistance. So, resistance is the opposition to the passage of an electric current through that element. And parallel naman is an arrangement of electrical components such that a current flow along two or more paths. Pwede tayong gumamit ng Ohm's law in parallel circuit. So each resistor in the circuit has the full voltage. So according to Ohm's law, the currents flowing through the individual resistors are I sub 1 is equal to the voltage divided by resistor 1. Then I sub 2 is equal to V divided by R sub 2. And I sub 3 equals V divided by R sub 3. Conservation of charge implies that the total current is the sum of the currents. So this is an example of a circuit in parallel. So makikita nyo guys, each resistor has an individual current to it. Or the current is divided in every resistor that is connected in parallel way. So according naman kay Kirchhoff's current laws, it states that the total current leaving a circuit is equal to that entering the circuit. No current is lost. Thus, the total current flowing in the circuit is given as I sub t, or total current, is equal to the current in R sub 1 plus the current in R sub 2, etc. So, to find the current in a parallel circuit, so this is the solution or the formula. Current is equal to I sub 1 plus I sub 2 plus I sub 3. Substituting the expressions for the individual currents gives I equals V divided by R sub 1 plus V divided by R sub 2 plus V divided by R sub 3, or I equals V multiplied by 1 divided by R sub 1 plus 1 divided by R sub 2 plus 1 divided by R sub 3. So unlike the previous series resistor circuit, in a parallel resistor network, the circuit current can take more than one path as there are multiple paths for the current. Then parallel circuits are classed as current dividers. Since nakagawa siya ng multiple or networks of resistor in parallel, so maraming dadaanan ang current, so madidivide yung current dito in every load or resistor na nakakonect sa parallel. So using Ohm's law formula, we can compute current, individual current as follows. I sub 1 equals V sub S, or supply voltage divided by R sub 1. I sub 2 is Vs divided R sub 2. I sub 3 equals V sub S divided by R sub 3. And so on. So hanggang sa last number of resistor in parallel. And according naman kay Kirchhoff's current law, the total, to get the total current, we add the individual current in a resistor. So, I sub t equals I in R sub 1 plus I in R sub 2. And so on. Okay, so voltage across resistor in parallel circuit. However, the voltage drop across all of the resistors in a parallel resistive network is the same. So then, resistors in parallel have a common voltage across them, and this is true for all parallel connected elements. So meaning dito, ang voltage daw in resistors in parallel ay iisa lang or common. So, mathematical expression natin to get the voltage is V, or voltage in R sub 1, is equal to the voltage in R sub 2 is equal to the voltage in R sub 3, and so on. So kung may 12 volts na total voltage or supply voltage, 12 volts din ang meron sa R sub 1, 12 volts din ang meron sa R sub 2, 12 volts din ang meron sa R sub 3, and so on. So parallel resistor circuit. Here, the reciprocal 1 over R value of the individual resistances are all added together instead of the resistances themselves, with the inverse of the algebraic sum given the equivalent resistance as shown. So this is the parallel resistor equation. So to get the total resistance in parallel, we are going to use the reciprocal method, or 1 over R sub t is equal to 1 over R sub 1 plus 1 over R sub 2 plus 1 over R sub 3 hanggang sa last na resistor na nakaparallel. So these figures are examples of resistor or component connected in parallel way. So let's take the first example in resistors in parallel. So find the total resistance, or R sub t, of the following resistors connected in a parallel network. So here, meron tayong value ng R sub 1 na 200 ohms, R sub 2 na 470 ohms, and R sub 3 na 220 ohms. So what is the formula to find the total resistance? So the total resistance, or R sub t, across the two terminals A and B is calculated as 1 over R sub t equals 1 over R sub 1 plus 1 over R sub 2 plus 1 over R sub 3. Then we substitute the value for R sub 1, which is 1 over 200 ohms, plus R sub 2, 1 over 470 ohms, plus R sub 3, 1 over 220 ohms. So ang gagawin natin dito guys is i-divide natin yung 1 by 200, 1 by 470, then 1 by 220. And then we add ang sagot natin is 0.0117. So hindi pa yan ang final answer. Therefore, since naka-reciprocal tayo, kailangan nating i-convert yung 1 over R sub t. Nangyari dito, R sub t is equal to 1 over 0.0117. So when we divide it, ang sagot natin is 85.67 ohms. So this method of reciprocal calculation can be used for calculating any number of individual resistances connected together within a single parallel network. Sabi dito, itong formula daw is useful sa lahat ng kung ilan man ang resistor na nakakonect in parallel.
Oh my God! Wow!
If, however, there are only two individual resistors in parallel, we can use a much simpler and quicker formula, which is called the product over sum method. So we can calculate for the total resistance gamit ang product over sum method. Multiply natin ang R1 and R2, then divide it sa sum ng R1 and R2. R sub T equals 14,985 ohms or 15,000 ohms.
Lagi nating tandaan na ang total circuit resistance ay mas mababa sa pinakamaliit na value ng resistor in parallel combination.
Okay, let's say meron tayong dalawang resistor dito na 22,000 and 47,000. According to that statement, ang magiging equivalent or total resistance natin is always less than the smallest value ng resistor ay in parallel. So let's take the third example in resistor in parallel. So calculate the individual branch currents and the total current drawn from the power supply for the following set of resistors connected together in a parallel combination. So, as the supply voltage is common to all the resistors in a parallel circuit, we can use Ohm's law to calculate the individual branch current as follows. Ang formula to get the current using Ohm's law is we divide the voltage by resistance. So, since I sub 1 ang hinahanap, we use the value for R sub 1. So, 24 volts divided by 10 ohms equals 2.4 amp or ampere.
Will you please repeat it?
So, to get the value for I sub 2, we divide 24 volts by 20 ohms. So the answer is 1.2 ampere. To get the value for I sub 3, we divide 24 volts by 30 ohms. So the answer is 0.8 ampere. And to get the value for I sub 4, we divide 24 volts by 40 ohms. So the answer is 0.6 ampere. Then, the total current flowing into the parallel resistor combination will be I sub T equals I sub 1 plus I sub 2 plus I sub 3 plus I sub 4 using Kirchhoff's current law. So we substitute the value for I sub 1, 2.4 plus 1.2 plus 0.8 plus 0.6 equals 5 amps or 5 ampere. So, pwede natin siyang i-check kung tama ba ang sagot natin na 5 ampere. So, una, kailangan natin kunin ang total resistance. So, gagamitin natin ang formula na reciprocal method. Okay, 1 over R sub T equals 1 over R sub 1 plus R sub 2, 1 over 3, and etc. So, we substitute the value. 1 over R sub T equals 1 over 10 plus 1 over 20 plus 1 over 30 plus 1 over 40. So, we divide and we add. So, ang sagot dito is 0.1 plus 0.05 plus 0.033 plus 0.025. So, ang sum niyan ay 0.2083. So, kukunin natin yung reciprocal ng sum na ito. So, 1 over 0.2083 equals 4.8 ohms. Okay, so since nakuha na natin ang total resistance, pwede na natin gamitin ang Ohm's law. So then the current flowing in the circuit will be, ayan. So this is the equivalent circuit doon sa unang circuit na drawing. So I sub T is equals to supply voltage divided by total resistance. So ang supply voltage natin is 24 volts. We divide it by the total resistance which is 4.8. So ang sagot niyan guys is 5 amperes. So medyo mahaba ang method na to compared dun sa kanina. But depende, kung gusto nating i-check, we can use this formula. In summary, so in parallel circuit, there are multiple current path, meaning hindi pare-parehas ang current in each resistor. So ang voltage naman is kabaliktaran. There is the same voltage across each resistor. Kirchhoff's current law is applicable in parallel circuit. And to get the total resistance, pwede natin gamitin ang product over sum method or the reciprocal method. Okay, so I hope you like this video and our topic for today. So see you in our next video. Bye-bye.
Will you please repeat it?